Hundreds of churches throughout the country are encouraging their male members to engage in mixed martial arts, or MMA. Now, they're doing this because they're worried about the feminization of their churches, and so they want to make sure that they go back to their roots of being manly men who beat the shit out of each other. So according to a great article written by Raw Story, today over 700 evangelical U.S. churches now integrate MMA, also known as cage fighting, into their ministry programs. Fighters face off against one another, brutally inflicting pain by punching, kicking, kneeing, and elbowing their opponents into submission.
No, this story is phenomenal on so many levels.
Yeah.
First of all, you're supposed to be Christians. What would Jesus do? He would continually turn the other cheek, right? He'd get in there and you'd like, bam, he'd like, okay, here you go. Bam, I think that here you go. Right? Yeah. Nobody would hit one another if you were real Christians. What are you doing? What are you doing to each other in the balls?
Okay, so before we get to all those arguments and the substance of the story, there was one little tidbit that I read about that I just thought was hilarious. Maybe I'm the only one who finds this funny. So John McCain is one of the politicians who actually wants to ban boxing and MMA, and I don't agree with that. But he referred to it as human cockfighting.
Oh, come on. He's like, yeah, the boxing I don't know about, but on MMA he was very specific. He's like, it's cockfighting. Okay. So
some of you are probably wondering, as you should be wondering, like, what's the justification of this, right? Why would Christians want to incorporate MMA fighting into their churches? And so a lot of it has to do with trying to bring in men, you know, like, look at our macho religion, you want to be part of that, don't you? But also, it's this whole notion that MMA and Christianity are compatible bedfellows. It's loosely based on the ideology of muscular Christianity, a mostly male Victorian-era movement that linked the gospel with physical and mental toughness.
I love how malleable these religious texts are. People just take whatever they want and run with it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's Jesus said, "Oh, peace, 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 turn the other cheek," etc. And they're like, "Yeah, exactly. Punch other people in the face." Mm-hmm. Okay, and so that became a whole movement. But it's interesting, something apparently really positive came out of it, according to this article, which I didn't know these facts before. The muscular Christian ethos was apparently instrumental in the late 19th century British public schools in coming up with sports and really popularizing sports overall. Mm-hmm. So now before MMA, just sports in general. So that's good. I'm glad there was muscular Christianity around that led to that.
Right.
You know, and my guess is, of course, that we would have gotten to that point anyway. Sports is something that was bound to take off, but it had positive effect. And then, of course, boxing and now MMA. But the idea of going to church and getting your ass kicked is downright bizarre. What's even more bizarre and ironic is kicking someone's ass.
Yeah. Now, we have a video with a pastor explaining this in more detail. I love the video, so let's just take a quick look at that.
As Christians, there are times where you take shots. That's where the Bible gives you your training. I get all the time, I don't look like the typical pastor, and that's okay. There's actually a cool verse in the Bible that says, "Be wary when all men speak well of you." If everybody loves you, you're doing something wrong.
God, you have called us to a fight.
When Preston came up with the idea of having a fight club in the church, it was an easy thing to say yes to. Tough guys need Jesus too.
You guys like to see me fight another pastor? We'll just be a couple of God-fearing men punching each other in the face.
Mainstream Christianity has feminized men. If we would raise our boys to be men, these kind of problems go away.
As I progress in my Christian life, I start to see a conflict there.
Cage fighting does not speak about loving one another. Cage fighting is about hating one another, basically.
Lucas, get your hands up! Listen, finishing strong doesn't mean we win every battle. Jesus never quit. Jesus never tapped out. He finished what he came to do.
If you really want the enemy off your trail, you gotta learn to put your foot on his neck. Somebody shout Jesus.
Can you love your neighbor as yourself and then at the same time knee him in the face as hard as you can?
Jesus.
Insanity, man. That's a movie that's coming out now. Okay. How could they possibly think that has anything to do with the teachings of Jesus? They just don't care. They're like, I just want to go to church and do my fun things like kicking ass and teaching my kids how to fire guns.
Yeah. Mark,
what would Jesus do? You think he'd teach your kids how to fire weaponry or punch your neighbor in the face? How could you possibly think that?
I can understand liking MMA. I see the appeal of liking MMA. Just enjoy MMA and don't tie it to your church. It's totally fine. Like, don't try to justify it by saying this is the Christian thing to do. It's really not. This is like a weird, like, contradiction.
You're just trying to get more people to come and show up at your church, and you're trying to equate these things when they should not be equated. I agree with Anna. You like MMA, God bless your heart. Ironic. Okay? But it doesn't have anything to do with Jesus.